Recording in progress.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Saksharanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha Shichitayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamrupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padkamalam Shiram Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Hari Priye Vankha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sindhavisa Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswata Devi Gaurvanya Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachaya Desatarane. Hare Krishna, we will continue with our study of Nectar of Instruction. Today we will discuss text 2. In text 1, we have heard about the necessity to become a Goswami, a controller of the mind and senses. Now text 2 will explain the implications when we are not controlling the mind and senses. So, because the living entity, the spirit soul, because of his own desire, is put under the modes of material nature, under the jurisdiction of the material energy, and under the influence of the material energy, we have to meet the demands of the body. The body is a product of the material energy. So text 2 will explain how to meet these basic demands in a way that we can make spiritual progress, rather than entangling us further in the material energy. So the first point Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport is about living in this material world, but we will start with reading the verse. Bring the verse on the screen. That's in. It doesn't appear here. So just a moment. Database, and now it should appear. Share, and there is a database. Yes, text 1. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpaniyamaham shana sangra salolyamsa sadbir bhakti vanashati. You have to memorize this verse, but it's quite easy. If you remember every term and what it means. That for Atyahara is a verse that we will discuss. Overeating or too much collecting. And then prayas means endeavoring for what is very difficult to achieve. And then prajalpa, idle talk, speaking about sense gratification, all these temporary things in this world, politics, whatever. Then niyama, rules and regulations. No, it's niyama agraha. Has two meanings. So first is agra means too much attachment to the rules and regulations. And the second meaning is agraha, too much neglect of not following the rules and regulations. And then the next point is jhana sangha, associated with worldly minded persons with non-devotees. And laulyam, that's the sixth one, ardent longing or greed. And then it said sadbi, sad is 6, d6, bhakti is devotional service, vinashati is destroyed. These 6 activities are destroying bhakti, devotional service. Therefore, we have to avoid them. So the translation now. Okay, that's the translation. Good. Erika, can you read the translation? Thank you.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Perfect, please.
One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements.
So we have these 6 things we have to avoid. And Prabhupada, he discusses one by one in the purport. But before discussing it, he speaks about living in this material world. We will not read the purport, but we will go over the PowerPoint where all these points are summarized. Share. Then we have here, living in the material world. Prabhupada says there are 3 Shaktis, Antaranga, Bahiranga and Tatastha. Can someone explain me these 3 terms, Antaranga, Bahiranga, Tatastha? Someone who has prepared for the class, maybe? Then,
internal, external and marginal potency.
Thank you. Internal, external and marginal potency. And what is the external energy?
It's Mahamaya.
Mahamaya, or in English, the material energy.
Material.
Yeah. That's Bahiranga. Huh? And Antaranga, what is Antaranga?
Internal energy, Maharaj.
Internal. And what's the internal energy?
It's like the Yogamaya, the energy of the spiritual world.
Energy of the spiritual world. So let's go back to the Bahiranga. The Bahiranga is a material energy. The material energy is made of 3 modes. What are these modes?
Tata, Raja and Tama.
Yes. And in English?
Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance.
Yeah. And the Antaranga, the spiritual energy, has also 3 divisions. What are these divisions? The spiritual energy?
Tat Chit Ananda.
Sat Chit Ananda. That this Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, Ananda means bliss. These are the characteristics, but it are not the energies. Very good. That Sandini, that's eternal existence. Made our soul existed eternally because it's spiritual. Samvit, and Samvit is knowledge, spiritual realized knowledge. The knowledge also of our relationship with Krishna. And Ladini is a spiritual energy which gives Krishna pleasure. It's a pleasure-giving potency. And if we give Krishna pleasure, we come under this potency and we feel blissful. That's our normal situation. That's the normal situation, and our normal situation, when we're situated in that, is a Mahatma. What's a Mahatma? What is a Duratma? Can someone explain? What is a Mahatma?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Also, Mahatma is a great soul. Also in German it is großherzig. I don't know in English. Also they have a great heart, and they have no enemies. Also they don't see other person as enemies. They see everyone as part of Krishna, and they are totally dedicated with. Also they engage their senses in the service of the Lord.
Interesting. But what's the definition of a Mahatma? Someone knows?
Who is...
Yes?
Mahatma is the one who has no demoniac properties, has no asura-like properties. He is very he is guided by the divine nature, by the Daivi Prakriti, has no false ego, and has realized the Supreme Self, Paramatma.
That's certainly a sadhu. That's very good. These are all characteristics of a sadhu. How does Krishna defines a Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita? Someone knows?
Someone who is firmly situated in a transcendental platform.
Yeah. I was thinking of the verse Mahatmanas tu Mahamparta Devim Prakritim Ashvitaha. What does that mean? The Mahatma, he knows how to connect with the Devim Prakriti, with the spiritual energy. And Ashvita, it takes shelter of this spiritual energy. Krishna says that. But Mahatma is someone who knows how to please the transcendental senses of Krishna. And that's diametrically opposed to a Duratma. What is a Duratma? Duratma, Prabhupada says, is a cripple-minded person. What is a Duratma? It's one who wants only to please his own senses. Is very selfish, the Duratma. So our process is that we have to become a Mahatma, one who knows how to connect with the spiritual energy. How to connect with the spiritual energy, we will hear also in the next verse of Nectar of Instruction. It's all about how to connect with the spiritual energy. 9 processes of devotional service. The Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. We will come to that in the next verse. But it's important you know the difference between a Mahatma and a Duratma. A Mahatma is broad-minded, a Duratma is cripple-minded. A Duratma thinks only about himself and his body, is selfish, acts for sense gratification. The Mahatma is broad-minded and wants to give Krishna to everyone and knows, because he knows how to connect with the spiritual energy. We spoke about the threefold miseries, and then, but we have a body and we must maintain it. Because we are living in the material world. So it means we have to maintain it and keep it healthy. Okay. That we have discussed now, but let's read the purport. Yeah, again, the purport. Let's see what Prabhupada says. Can someone read the first paragraph? It's on the screen.
Human life is... Go ahead, Mataji.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mataji. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, Sveta.
Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has 3 primary energies or potencies. The first is called the Antaranga Shakti or the internal potency. The second is called the Tathastha Shakti or the marginal potency. The third is called Bahiranga Shakti or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas or atomic living entities must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural, constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord.
Thank you.
This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Thank you. So, the living entity is Tatastha Sakti, marginal. We are marginal. It's in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says 15:7. Mamaibam Sheshi Veluke Shiva Bhuta Sanatna. All the living entities are my part and parcels. We are a spiritual spark, very, very small. And we are easily captivated by this material energy. We are very small. But the spirit soul, the symptom is consciousness, and the activities of desire of the soul is desire, attachment, desire. And by desire, the spiritual energy chooses to connect with the material energy or the spiritual energy. So how, without desire, are we connecting with the material energy? How do we do that? What kind of desire connects us with the material energy. We are doing it for many, many lifetimes. We should know. Yes.
To rule it.
Yes, Erika.
Sorry, yes, to rule the material energy.
Yeah, but how do we connect with the material energy? How does the soul connect? It's through desire. But what desire connects us with the material energy?
To enjoy more and more in the material world.
Yes. That's mentioned in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That we have all studied Bhagavad Gita already, right? 13. And there, text 22. Purusa pragati stohe bhunkte pragati jan gunan. Bhunkte pragati jan gunan. We desire to enjoy material nature, to exploit it. That's how we connect with the material energy. That we connect our consciousness. Our consciousness becomes polluted by these desires, and we become connected with the material energy. And material energy means illusion. We become more and more deluded. Yes, Erika, you had a question?
Yes, please, if I can ask now. My question is, we read it in the Bhagavad Gita that actually desires are the products of the Rajoguna. So my question is, if at the level of the Sattva we are free from desires, then a pure spirit soul, how can have suddenly desires from the platform of the Rajoguna when we connect with the material energy?
Yeah, that is happened. How that happened in the material in the spiritual world to us? That's another question. But it's not that the spirit soul, which is Shuddha Sattva, becomes influenced by the material energy. It's the spirit soul as consciousness. Originally, Shuddha Sattva, transcendental consciousness, but that consciousness becomes polluted by the material energy. And it becomes polluted by rajas. We develop this attachment. So that's a fact. That's how these material desires start. We become influenced by the material energy. Of course, where this cycle has begun, that's another question. We are not discussing that. A fact is we are polluted. Our consciousness has become polluted. And by that pollution, we develop these desires. We become attracted. Does that answer the question, Erika? Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Yeah. But then, okay, Bhunkte Pragati Jankunan, we have this desire to exploit material nature. Yes, Venuya?
Yeah, this is a point that since long is very difficult to understand for me, because you said also the desire is the activity of the soul, and it's also said that the activity of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. I thought that this is a desire of the mind, but maybe it is meant like this. My Guru mentioned in a lecture that when this consciousness becomes polluted, then the mind overtakes the function of the soul, and then the desires can come from the mind. So can you please clarify this?
That's correct. That's when we have material desires, where do they manifest? In the mind. That's right. And the mind becomes attracted, and the spirit soul starts identifying with the mind. And there it goes wrong. And what we are discussing in it first today is what makes this misidentification with the mind and this material desire stronger. That all these 6 items make, if we don't follow them, if we commit these 6 enemies, it becomes stronger, and we identify more and more with the mind. So that is correct. But of course, in the liberated state, because the process of devotional service purifies the mind from these desires, which are anarthas. It purifies, and when it's totally purified, the material mind stops to exist. It becomes spiritualized. Spiritualized means the thinking, feeling, and willing is done again by the spirit soul, not by the material mind anymore. That is deep knowledge. That's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in the purport 175, I think, of 176, one of these verses. There it is mentioned, Prabhupada mentioned, the soul as its own thinking, feeling, and willing in the unconditioned state also. So, but it means, because the spirit soul cannot think materially. It's not possible. If we have this Bhakti, Prakati Jangunan, we want to exploit material nature, and that desire, to express that desire, we need a material mind. Cannot be done by the spirit soul. So this is deep knowledge. That's explained in the 11th canto also. But anyway, we are going Tatasti Shakti. We are marginal energy, and we are contacting the material energy by the desire to exploit material nature. But how do we contact the spiritual energy? So contacting the material energy is a duratma, cripple-minded person, because he's cripple-minded because he becomes interested in temporary enjoyment only, and it's not a body. It's all temporary. It's there for a few years or whatever that we are in the body, and it's gone. It is fluffy. It's gone. Cripple-minded. But the Mahatma is broad-minded. He sees his future, his return to the material, to the spiritual world. So, but how does the Mahatma contact the spiritual energy? How do we contact the Antaranga Sakti instead of the Bahiranga Sakti? How do we do that? Yes? Someone has a proposal? What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? How does the Mahatma connect with the spiritual energy?
Is it Hare Krishna Mahamantra?
9:14 Bhagavad Gita.
Ja, also Satatam Kirtayantu Mam, also
Yatantasta Trita Vrataha. Yeah, Satatam, always, Kirtayanto, performing kirtan, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that to hearing about Him, remembering Him, that. So Krishna explains that in 1865 Bhagavad Gita, how to connect with the spiritual energy. Manmana bhavamad bhakto maji mam namaskar. Manmana, always think of me. And then bhavamad bhakto, you become my devotee. By thinking of Krishna, we connect with the spiritual energy. And then we become his devotee. And then Majai, we worship him. Namaskaru, we offering respect. Then we become devotees. That's how we connect. But of course, I see Prabhupada is quoting here the same verse that I'm quoting. I didn't read the purport, I just quoted the verse. So we are saying the same thing. Mahatmanastu mamparta devim prakating ashvita bhajantyananya manaso ghatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, and then Prabhupada speaks about the Mahatma and then also about the Duratma later. Let's hear about the Mahatma. Can someone read this paragraph, please? Who wants to read? Okay, Venuya.
The word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Cripple-minded persons always engaged in satisfying their senses, sometimes expand their activities in order to do good for others through some ism, like nationalism, humanitarianism, or altruism. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. Actually, all these activities are extended sense gratification, from personal to communal to social. These activities may all be very good from the material point of view, but they have no spiritual value. The basis of such activities is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Only when a person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma or broad-minded person.
So a Duratma is interested in sense gratification. It may do so good things, humanitarian work, altruism, but it's all temporary, and it's all for his sense gratification or the sense gratification of others, extended. But the broad-minded Mahatma, he has a spiritual goal. He wants to please Krishna and connects with the spiritual energy through devotional service. Can someone else read the next paragraph in the above quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita?
In the above quoted verse from the Bhagavad Gita, the words Daivim Prakriti refer to the control of the internal potency or pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This pleasure potency is manifested as Srimati Radharani, or her expansions, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. When the individual jiva souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna, or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, he is a Duratma, or a cripple-minded person. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, Mahamaya.
Yes. So we have understood now what the three Saktis are: Antaranga, Bahiranga, Tatastha. So we are the Tatastha, and we connect with the Antaranga by devotional service, and we connect with the Bahiranga, Punkte Pragati Jangunan, by trying to exploit material nature. So the Mahatma is one who knows how to connect. The Duratma is still in the material energy, trying to exploit the material nature for himself or for others. And now Prabhupada speaks here about the three problems, threefold miseries. First, the main problem, and then Prabhupada speaks about the main problem, which is getting out of the repetition of birth, death, and old age and disease. So the threefold miseries, we will hear that also many times in the Bhagavatam, speaking about the threefold miseries, and they are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, is Adidevika, Adibhaudika, Adhyatmika. 3 kleshas. That Adidevika, we suffer from earthquakes, droughts, all storms, so many things caused by nature. Adibhaudika, suffering caused by other living entities, insects, tax collectors, so many things. That an adhyatmika klesa, the suffering by one's own and mind, for all, especially suffering of the mind, that is so heavy that so the conditioned soul is subjected to these miseries. The main problem is, Prabhupada says, old age and disease, birth, old age and disease, and to get out of it, and dying, that, and yes, but then Prabhupada says everyone requires possessions such as food, clothing, money and other things for the maintenance of the body, but one should not collect more than necessary for his actual basic needs. So we come back to that's atyahara. I'm going back to the slides because we will not read everything. Oh, no, that's the same. But it was there, I think. Yeah. So we discussed all these things. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam purport speaks about his energies. I read the verse. That is 7.3.34 Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto the Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation, the form of the totality of the universe. He possesses external, internal energies and mixed energies called marginal potency, which consist of all the living entities. So we may wonder, this Antaranga, Bairanga, Tatastha Saktis, where does that come from? It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam verse here, 7.3.34. That can someone read the purport, which is on the board here?
The Lord is endowed with unlimited potencies. Parashya Saktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 13.65 purport, which are summarized as 3, namely external, internal and marginal. The external potency manifests this material world, the internal potency manifests the spiritual world, and the marginal potency manifests the living entities, who are mixtures of internal and external. The living entity, being part and parcel of Para-Brahman, is actually internal potency, but because of being in contact with the material energy, he is an emanation of material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is above the material energy and is engaged in spiritual pastimes. The material energy is only an external manifestation of his pastimes.
Yes, that is also what's in Bhagavad Gita. Apariyamitasvam yam pragatim vidimeparam jivabhuta mabo chaitam tayatejyat. Besides these, O my Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which are the living entities, the spirit souls. And they are spiritual, but they are exploiting the material resources. So that's our defect in the material world. We are trying to exploit matter for the benefit of a body, which we are not. Okay, that's the introduction. Srimad Bhagavatam 8, 19, 24. Yeah, but first this Then atyar and prayas. It's going together, these two. Atyar means more collecting, more eating than necessary. And prayas means endeavoring for material things difficult to obtain. So eating more than necessary. That's very dangerous. We must eat what's necessary. We explained that in text 1 already. Don't eat more than necessary. It spoils your devotional service. Lust will come in your heart. So many things will happen. And this atyara, this eating more, leads to prayas, over endeavoring for material things. Prabhupada said, atyar is unknown in animal species. And he gives the example in the purport that if a bag of grains, they are on an ox cart, and the farmer is bringing all these sacks of grain to his to a certain place, and one sack of grain falls on the ground. That it's lying there, and he did not notice it. And then a bird will come and pick a few grains from the sack. And goes, just what's needed. But then a human being comes and sees a sack of grains and thinks, oh, interesting, I take the whole sack in stock for later. That's atyahara. So we should not do that. Keeping things in stock for later and collecting more and more, thinking I will not get some food later, stocking up things, hamstring, or how they call it. It's also in the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. We were in the Goshal for the Bhaktivedanta course, and it was 2008, 2009, and we came at a verse of the Bhagavatam. Mother Narayani was reading the verse and before was sitting a brahmachari on a small table, and on the table was his Bhagavatam, and underneath his table was a tiffin with on top a banana. So it was a brahmachari, and it was morning, and the door was open. The sun was shining in the classroom, and Mother Narayani read the verse that says, a brahmachari should never keep food in stock for later. She just has spoken the verse, and a monkey came into the room, went and took the banana underneath the table and ran away. I was thinking that is direct application. So yes, we should not and keeps in stock, takes in collecting things. That prayas means collecting things. Atyara means eating more than necessary, and prayas means collecting things more than necessary. Over endeavoring for material things that are difficult to find. That's prayas may also meaning you are a grihasta, you have a house, you need a house, yes. But you want to buy a house, and you have an income of $3,000 a month, and the mortgage, the loan you have to pay for the house, is $2,600 a month. Is that a good idea? No. You will need a second job to pay for the house. Don't do these things. That is prayas, over-endeavoring for material things which is not needed. All these loans and all these things, people think you need this car and you're bigger and so on. And before you know, you have so many loans and you become a slave of these things. It's hampering our spiritual life. We cannot do that as devotees. Don't loan things when not necessary. A devotee is happy with simple living. He knows all these material things will go soon. It is atyara, this eating more than necessary it's unknown in animal species. They will not do that. And if we in Shir's Upanishad, you learn also this atya, this over-collecting more than necessary. It means you are collecting more than your quota. We have all a quota. What's my quota? Quota is what you can eat. That the quota of Bhishmadev, of Bhima was bigger than our quota. He had to eat more. He had a bigger body. We have all our quota. What is my quota? That's explained in Shir's Upanishad. Is that what you get without great endeavor? According to your karma, you get your quota. We have all different quota. But we should not try to encroach on the quota of others. That is causing scarcity in the world. I've heard that already more than 10 years ago, 40% of all the wealth in the world is in hands of 340 big rich people. That's an imbalance. That creates all this scarcity. But there is also a more subtle type of atyahara. So it's on the screen. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, atyaharas are also a Vaishnavas, because collecting too much also exists on the subtle platform. Jnanis want to accumulate speculative knowledge. And yogis, they want to accumulate mystic powers. It's all temporary and useless. But by associating with them, we want also to become bhakti and joyous. Mukti, we want liberation, or we want siddhis, mystic powers, and it ruins our sadhana bhakti. So that is about atyahara and prayas. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto, chapter 19, text 24-27. So this is the story of Bali Maharaj, that Bali Maharaj had promised Lord Vamandev 3 steps of land, and Vamandev said, yeah, because, well, Vamandev asked first, because Bali Maharaj said, well, I want to give you charity, tell me what do you want? And Vamandev said, I want 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj said that, my young brahmachari, your intelligence is not in place, I think, because I'm the supreme lord of all the 3 worlds. I can give you even a planet, whatever you want. Why are you asking only for 3 steps of land? And then Vamandev, he speaks these verses. Can someone read them? That these four verses, the translation is on the screen. Yes.
One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self controlled will not be happy even with possessing the three worlds. Material existence causes discontent in regard to fulfilling one's lusty desires and achieving more and more money. This is the cause for the continuation of material life, which is full of repeated birth and death. But one who is satisfied by that which is obtained by destiny is fit for liberation from this material existence. A Brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power. But the spiritual potency of a dissatisfied Brahmana decreases as fire diminishes in potency when water is sprinkled upon it. Therefore, O king, from you, the best of those who give charity, I ask only 3 paces of land. By such a gift, I shall be very pleased. For the way of happiness is to be fully satisfied to receive that which is absolutely needed. Hare Krishna.
So thank you. There's also the story Prabhupada tells sometimes about this Brahmin of Navadvip. He was a very poor Brahmin and he had a few students. He was teaching, and but a very rich man came, a king or something, and said, "Oh, Brahmin, you are so poor. Please let me give you something. What do you want?" And the Brahmin said, "I'm completely satisfied. I don't need anything from you. Because my students, they bring every day some rice, and with that rice, I cook this rice, and there is a tamarind tree here. I get some tamarind leaves, and it gives a nice flavor, and that's what I eat. I'm completely satisfied." That, of course, we cannot imitate such such an elevated Brahman. Okay, now Prajalpa. Failure to control the urge to speak results in Prajalpa, unnecessary talks. So, examples: heaps of newspapers, magazine, novels, solving crossword puzzles, today's small internet scrolling, all these things. Retired men who play cards, fish, watch television, and debate useless socio-political schemes. Once Srila Prabhupada arrived in California, was it Los Angeles or San Francisco? I don't remember. But they arrived there with the car, and Prabhupada saw old men playing with balls, petanque or something. They were playing with balls, and Prabhupada became angry. Well, why are they wasting their time like this? It's a time for preparing for death. So we should always see. Therefore, it's good that if we every day we can in the evening meditate a few moments, and we think, what did I do good for my spiritual life today? What went wrong? I lost time by going by this or this or this material activity. It's mostly prajalpa, and we lose time. Our time is very valuable. We need to use it in spiritual life for making spiritual advancements. That is prajalpa, unnecessary talk. And then that's the first part, like Sanatan Goswami, when he met Lord Chaitanya, he had an expensive blanket, and Lord Chaitanya was glancing over it, and Sanatan Goswami, he understood Lord Chaitanya doesn't like it, and he went to trade his expensive blanket for an old blanket that and after he did that, Lord Chaitanya was very pleased. That so for us, what is important in this lesson here is understanding what's the difference between a Duratma and a Mahatma. That so we have to go from Duratma to Mahatma. Everything we do should be in connection with Krishna. That our work, but whatever we do, whatever we eat should be prasadam, always connecting with Krishna. That's a Mahatma. A Duratma is busy with the material energy, trying to exploit. So, of course, we have also the effect of the television and other media in the world today. They are influencing people's values, their conduct. So we see that it's very dangerous. Looking television and all this media and these political debates, that I've here a statement that so during the early 90s in the UK, the murder of a toddler shocked the nation and led to the conviction of 2 children, 9 and 10 years old. This raised the question of the trend of increasing violence among youngsters and its possible causes. Many pointed to the media and specifically to violent videos. In response, some representatives of the business claimed that videos are beneficial. They do not nurture violent tendencies, but on the contrary provide a safe outlet for people's destructive tendencies. So, do you think that is true? I don't think so. That this media is very dangerous. The impact of this media on our consciousness. So we are coming to the next point. Niyama agraha. So we are discussing all these activities which are destroying bhakti that we have to avoid. The first were atyara, eating more than necessary. So we have to learn to eat on scheduled times only, and just what we need. And the prayas, over endeavoring for things that are very difficult to obtain, make your life simple as a devotee. Don't get big loans and all these things, just what is needed to life. We needed to live comfortably, that's fine, but not accumulating wealth that we don't use. It's many times I'm doing that sometimes. I'm going to all my possessions and I say, is there something what I didn't use for 2-3 months? Give it to someone else who can use it in Krishna consciousness. that don't keep it. That and so that is atyara, prayas, and then we discussed also prajalpa, talking about mundane things which is just about sense gratification, all these talks, or extended sense gratification, like politics, like so many things that all the tendencies, all what's in the news, that we may know these things, but don't dwell on this unnecessary. We have a business of self-realization, which is more important. And then we come now to niyama agra. Like we said before, it is two meanings. Niya means rules and regulations, like mentioned here on the screen. And agra, long, means we are very eager to accept these rules and regulations. But we forget the purpose. It becomes all about following the rules of regulations, but we forget the purpose. Or agra, we are not following them. We don't follow the four regulative principles. That's problematic. So rules and regulations are meant to guide us on the path of devotional service. And sadhana bhakti is meant to lead us to bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. So that's nectar of devotion. Because we may not forget, this is a summary of the principles mentioned in nectar of devotion. We will point that out later. But it's the essence that... So we should not blindly follow the rules and regulations without keeping the ultimate goal in mind. So we follow these rules and regulations that the rules and regulations, it means four regulative principles, but also the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, how to perform bhakti. So many rules and regulations. We have to take a bath in the morning. We put up the tilak. So many rules and regulations. Why are we doing that? That to come to goodness and so that we can have a peaceful mind and perform devotional service. Fix our mind on Krishna. So this sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, means following rules and regulations. Why? Because the spiritual master has ordered us. You take initiation, the spiritual master said, you follow four regulative principles, you chant Hare Krishna and read Prabhupada's books, and that's what we are doing. So we should not follow it blindly. Or we should not reject them and not following it. To reject the rules and regulations in favor of one's own whimsical interpretation is condemned by Srila Rupa Goswami. About 25 years ago, a group of devotees wanted to change the four regulative principles, change it in three regulative principles, and then allow sex in marriage. Even not for the procreation of children. And they came up with a petition and so on. My spiritual master Bhakti Chari Maharaj said, if they allow that and they follow that, it will be very difficult for them to make spiritual advancement. So we have to be careful to follow this strictly, strictly means as good as we can, do our best, because it's not easy to follow these regulative principles. There's always danger at every moment. You go to a shop and you buy something, and you don't read the ingredients, and there is something in which is animal product. Yeah, many of these E's, they are animal products. You have to be very careful that unwillingly we may not following them. Then Govinda crossing over the body of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, Erika.
Thank you, Maharaj. I would like to ask a question related to the attachment when someone, without the purpose of spiritual improvement, very attached to the rules and regulations. So my question is how this can happen, because for our any kind of activity we should have a desire and therefore we make the necessary effort. But when someone attached to the regulative principles, which is not easy to follow already, then what can be the person motivation? Why we can fall in this trap?
Yeah, you have the story in the 10th canto in the Krishna book of the wives of the ritualistic Brahmins. And Krishna said, to the cowboys, you are hungry, go to beg for some food from these ritualistic Brahmins. Where Paka Brahmins, they followed all rules and regulations. And they were busy with a sacrifice, Karmakanda sacrifice for elevation to the heavenly planets. And they were so absorbed in all the techniques that they didn't want to speak with them even. Although the cowboys said, we are sent by Krishna and Balaram. So, what is the purpose of all the Vedas and all this Vedic knowledge? Vedasa sarvama eva vedya, Vedanta krit vedavite vacham. Krishna says, I'm the purpose, I'm to be known by the Vedas. But the Brahmins just neglected it. And they continued with their ritual, but they forgot the purpose, that it's to please Krishna finally. A jagya means a fire sacrifice. Vishnu appears, Krishna appears in the fire. So they forgot about it. That is the danger, that we are becoming too attached to the rules and regulation, and we forget that we are supposed to act out of love for Krishna. That is what is meant here. And that an example is the story of Govinda. Govinda was a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Was factually a god brother of Lord Chaitanya, because it was also a disciple of Ishvara Puri, but Ishvara Puri instructed him to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is forbidden to step over the body of a person who is lying down. That is a rule. But Lord Chaitanya was sleeping in the doorway, and so I had to step over him. So I stepped over him into the room, because it was his service to massage his body, that Lord Chaitanya's body. And Lord Chaitanya fell asleep, but then later he woke up and he saw that Govinda was still in the room. I said to him, why did you not go for taking prasad? And Govinda said, I made the offense to step over your body to render service to you. That was all right. But I could not step over it again to take prasadam for my satisfaction. that he would not do. And therefore he waited till Lord Chaitanya awake. So we should see the purpose of our activities and not blindly follow. That's what's mentioned here. Does that answer your question? Does that clarify?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much.
Yeah. So that we have also a wonderful example of Niyama Agra, is Srila Prabhupada crossing over the ocean to go to the west. A sadhu, according to the Vedic injunction, can never cross the ocean, but he crossed the ocean just for spreading Krishna consciousness. He saw the purpose. That's more important than these rules and regulations. So we have to be careful with that. So, yes, Vinuya?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, for me here this is the first time that it's forbidden for sadhus to cross the ocean. Could you please explain the background, as why it is forbidden?
Yeah, that is a sannyasi should never cross the oceans. That is in the Vedic literature. But yeah, we are doing it constantly, regularly, for the higher purpose of preaching. But that is in the Vedas. Yeah, that is in the regulations for sannyasis in the scriptures. Yeah. But still, Prabhupada did it. He was criticized later for that also by some. But what can we do? So it's mentioned, this is Niyama Agra. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shruti Smita Puranadi Pancharatma Vidim Vina Aikantike Are Bhaktir Upatataiva Kalpate. Prabhupada quotes this many times, this verse. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatma is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. A devotee of Krishna must refer not only to the Vedas but also to the Puranas. One should not foolishly consider the Puranas mythological. So it means, yes, we cannot ignore the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature points all to that the goal of life is to love Krishna. That if we take the rules and regulations as higher and neglect the goal, that's a big problem. Now, jhana sangha. That's the first item we should not do. So jhana sangha means ordinary people or non-devotees. So we have, according to our association, we will develop desires by association. So we should be careful with whom we associate. That's in 262. 262. Dayate Vishayapumsam Sanghas Tesvachayate Sanghasayate Kama Kama Koda Vichayate. So it is the Sanghat Sangyayate Kama. So by one creates attachments by association. By association, attachment develops. We develop attachments, and attachment comes calm, desire. I want to enjoy. So if we associate with materialistic people who want only to enjoy, we will be affected by that. So therefore, we should, Dhyana Sangha, we should give that up. That and we're careful to associate with non-devotees. Because our consciousness develops according to the association we have. Very important. That because in text 4 will explain what association means with devotees. Probably next week, Tuesday, we will discuss text 4 of associating, what association means. Association means, it's in text 4, means giving gifts to others, offering gifts to others, receiving gifts from others, offering prasad to others, receiving prasad, revealing one's mind in confidence to one devotee to another, and the other devotee is hearing someone speaking confidential. We cannot do these things with non-devotees. That we cannot do. And then a Vaishnavas includes 3 Shanghis, sense gratification. You have to be careful, even in marriage you become attached by sense gratification. That we should not associate with atheists, with Mayavadis, pretenders. They dress as devotees. Many dress as devotees, but they come to our movement to solve their economic problems. I heard in America, one so-called devotee came to America to assist the temple, but his purpose was not to develop love for God. He wanted a green card to stay in America. And he served for 4 years in the temple, but the day he got his green card, he was driving already away from the temple by that wrong motives. They look as devotees, but they have wrong motive. They have the motive to solve their economic problems, to get wealth. That also with karmis, jnanis, yogis, all non-devotees, we should not associate with them. That we should also not associate with those who criticize us or who criticize us for criticizing non-devotees. Because all these verses is about criticizing non-devotees. They are doing these things. Our principle is Bhakti Sanivas, to live in the company of devotees. And Prabhupada compares ISKCON to the Chamber of Commerce. That in the Chamber of Commerce, people come together because they are interested in how to do business, and they exchange gifts, and they hear from another confidentially, how do you in your business, how can you make your business great, what techniques, but we are in ISKCON coming together, and we do these activities of offering prasad, accepting prasad, offering gifts. We give books, we give transcendental knowledge, that we accept donations, that we are giving prasad, we like to eat prasad, and we like to speak about Krishna and speak confidentially. Now there is here a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita that I just write down. It's Madhya Lila 12:195, and the second is Madhya Lila 9:53, purport. I will bring that on the screen. Erika, you have a question?
Yes, Maharaj, I would like to ask related to this story from the devotee for the green card. Then it's easy to not associate with karmis because we can understood immediately their situation. But when we need to decide between devotees, especially if they are more elevated compared to us, then is very complicated. And just as this example that after 4 years it was clear that this devotee motivation was actually his to solve his economical problem, as you said, how we can be sure then we choose a right association and when we are still under the influence of the different gunas, so our material mind has the desire or the attraction probably for some material skills, or I don't know. So can you give please few advice regarding to this, how to think clear when our intelligence is not enough to distinguish?
One can discriminate based on transcendental knowledge, but that is a subject matter we will discuss quite deeply in text 5 and 6. So have a little patience, that's coming. Because that's very important to understand who is advanced, who is not advanced. That is very important, but we are coming to that. Okay, then we...
Thank you, I will be patient.
Yeah, so we are going to Chaitanya Charitamrita. That, let's see here. So, just a moment. Contents. We are going to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Interesting. 195. Oh, a little too far. Here it is. Ena tomara sangha mora ekatre bojana, na jani tomara sanghe kaicha hayamana. Nityananda Prabhu continued, you are a monist and now I am eating besides you. I do not know how my mind will be affected in this way. So it's Lord Nityananda is joking with Advaita Acharya that and he's joking, yes, you are Advaita, you are a monist. A monist is one who does not recognize the super soul in the heart. Say the soul and the super soul are one. A monist. So I'm eating besides you. Now I will be affected by your speech and your philosophy. That so he was joking, but Prabhupada in the purport speaks about the importance of association. He says, Sanghat Sanyate Kama, one develops his consciousness according to society and association. As Srila Nityananda Prabhu admits, a devotee could be careful when associating with those who are not devotees. When asked by a householder devotee what the behavior of a devotee should be, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replies, Asat Sangatyah e Vaishnava Achar, Sri Sanghi Ekas Asadu Krishna Bhakta Ar. A Vaishnava, a devotee, should simply discard intimate association with non-devotees. In his Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of intimate relationships in that way. And that's text 4, which we will discuss next Tuesday. Dadati pradigrinanti yuyam akyati prichati bhungte bhojayate seva satvidam pritilakshanam. The words bhungte bhojayate indicate that one should eat with devotees. One should carefully avoid eating food offered by non-devotees. Indeed, a devotee should be very strict in not accepting food from a non-devotee, especially food prepared in restaurants or hotels or on airplanes. Nityananda Prabhu's reference in this connection is meant to emphasize that one should avoid eating with Mayavadis and covered Mayavadis like the Sarjas, Vaishnavas and other materially affected. So that's one quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is about association, but there is a second quote that in the 9th, that 53 purport. 53, let's see if we find it. 53 purport. We read the purport. Yeah. The word apavitra anna refers to food that is unacceptable for a Vaishnava. In other words, a Vaishnava cannot accept any food offered by an Avaishnava in the name of Mahaprasad. This should be a principle for all Vaishnavas. When asked what is the behavior of a Vaishnava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, a Vaishnava must avoid a company of an Avaishnava. Asat Sangatyag. That a Vaishnava must be very strict in this respect and should not at all cooperate with an Avaishnava. If such Avaishnava offers food in the name of Mahaprasad, it should not be accepted. Such food cannot be prasadam because a Vaishnava cannot offer anything to the Lord. Sometimes preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement have to accept food in a home where the householder is an Avaishnava. However, if this food is offered to the deity, it can be taken. Ordinary food cooked by an Avaishnava should not be accepted by a Vaishnava. Even if an Avaishnava cooks food without fault, he cannot offer it to Vishnu, and it cannot be accepted as Mahaprasadam, according to Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Patram pushpalamtyam Yome bhaktya pranachati tatyam bhaktyuparitam asnami payatatma. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower or fruit, I will accept it. So Krishna can accept anything offered by his devotee with devotion. An Vaishnava may be vegetarian and very clean cook, but because he cannot offer Vishnu the food he cooks, it cannot be accepted as Mahaprasadam. It is better that a Vaishnava abandons such food as untouchable. Quite strict. That's we go back to our slide. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22:8-7. For a Vaishnava, the standard behavior is to avoid the association of ordinary people not interested in Krishna Bhakti. Such common people are first those who are too materially attached, especially to women, and second, people who are not at all devotees of Lord Krishna. Vaishnava should avoid the company of these two kinds of people. Not those who are materially attached to women, and those who are not interested in Krishna Bhakti. Good. I think the last one is laulyam. Greed or intense longing arises from jhana sangha te kama. And to get these things, the karmis, jnanis and yogis, we think that we need to engage in karma, jnana and yoga. So by associating with them. In this way our devotional service becomes mixed, we become like a prostitute. Jnana sangha, laulyam and atyahara are interrelated. So jnana sangha and laulyam So if we associate with ordinary people, greedy people, those who eat more than necessary and collect more than necessary, these are interrelated, because that is what this atyahara and this lalyam is what Shana Sangha ordinary people do, mostly. Okay, we went through it. That is text 2. We went to the essence of text 2, lesson 3, 1, 2. That Niyamaka, right? Yeah. Okay, any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, regarding association with non-devotees, I have heard from Keshav Maharaj that means that when you are with non-devotees, you just you don't let them influence you, but rather you influence them and you give association.
Yeah.
Can you give some tips on how to protect myself from getting influenced when I'm associating with them?
Yeah, the principle is we give our association, we don't take their association. So we give them prasad, that we give them books, and that we invite them to the temple, but we don't accept their invitations or their gifts. So that is the main principle, that so we have always prasad with us, that it would be good that we can distribute, and that but generally we distribute books. Some may be interested, some wants to influence us by our philosophy, but we are not interested. We go to the next one. That just neglect them. Yeah. But we have to see according to the situation. The main thing is that we are not going to do what they are doing. That we are not going to we don't want to enter their way of thinking, because it's all Pragati Jangunan, Bhakti Pragati Jangunan, all trying to exploit. Anyway, that's what I could say on that. But I hope that's okay. Venuya?
Hare Krishna. When we have the situation, for instance, with the family who lives in the same house, as is my landlord and his friend, as a girlfriend, and I often put some prasad on the stairs, for them, and now they also want to give me something back, because they want to give also some pleasure to me. And then at first it was some Bärlauch pesto, and it's next some Apfelmus, also some mashed apples, so but it was cooked by a non-devotee. And then I the last time, also Bärlauch, I said it's not possible, also with garlic and onions. But with the apples, I was arguing with my health situation. But how can we do it nicely? Because I will not explain the whole Krishna conscious philosophy, what we accept and what not. Also, how can we deal nicely in such a way with when people wants to give us something back when we give them prasad?
Yeah, sometimes that's a difficult situation. That sometimes they try to give me alcohol. Yeah. I give it to someone else who can use it, but not to devotees. If you say no, they become angry. So you have to see according to the situation. But the most important is that we should protect ourselves, our consciousness against these things. Because that's dangerous for our spiritual life. This subtle influence is dangerous. They don't recognize this subtle influence. They don't know that. But it's a fact. It's a fact. This subtle influence is important. It's blocking our spiritual advancement. So there may be such situations, but we should try to minimize them. And explaining them may offend them. We have to be careful. Understanding what their consciousness is, that everyone who is not Krishna conscious, we cannot put our faith in them. Don't do, because they will entangle you in the material energy one way or another. But good. Anything else? Then we will continue tomorrow morning at from 8 to 10, and we will go in the text 3. That's the good news. Text 3 are things to do in Krishna consciousness, but our attitude, our proper attitude in which we should do them. That's for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.